I find this next guest very enlightening, especially as a GG or grandmother who recently found out that they have a child on the spectrum. And I just love her encouragement and her inspiration. So let's go find out.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Hey, Giant Builders, before we meet Darlene, don't forget to get your free shampoo sample. And my friend is giving me a whole bunch of them. I will have my email below. Just let me know if you have dry, oily, or normal hair, and I will send you out a sample. Oh, there's your address. All right, let's meet Darlene. All right, Giant Builders. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Our guest today is Darlene Williams. Hi, Darlene. How are you?
Hello, Lois. I am better than amazing. Thank you for asking.
That's
And how
wonderful.
are you?
I've got a little sniffle, but I'm doing okay.
Oh, this too shall pass.
So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, my name is Darlene Williams, and I am a mom of 5, nana to 8 wonderful heartbeats. And I am a retired corrections officer turned entrepreneur. When I was blessed to be able to retire from corporate America, from corrections, actually, when my youngest son was 8 years old. And in that retirement, I found out after that my son was on the spectrum. And it was just a blessing to be able to be there whenever the school called or whenever I was needed to be there and watch him grow up instead of having him grow up in daycare.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. So tell me what went through your mind when you found out he was on the spectrum.
Well, I think a lot of things went through my mind when I found out he was on the spectrum. I believe that one of the first things was denial.
Yeah.
He went from reading in kindergarten at least a second grade level to, by the time he was in 5th, 6th grade, in remedial reading.
Okay.
In 1st grade, he was tested, put him up in 2nd grade for math, and he was struggling by the time 5th, 6th grade, by the time he was formally diagnosed. And so it was just a shock to see the turnaround.
Yeah.
And I knew he was bright and brilliant and could do the work. And I often wonder, was he not being challenged? The reason for part of the turnaround and the drastic change.
Yeah.
It was a shock, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I found out.
So was he not challenged, or is that do you know or found out that was kind of a normal situation?
I don't believe it was a normal situation. One of my friends, who actually recently passed, he was a holistic doctor, and he shared with me how that people with autism or anything in that arena, they are actually brilliant, and it's just stuck thoughts. And I do believe with my son, he wasn't challenged.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason, because they had him writing. He was in private school and daycare private school for kindergarten, for 4-year-old pre-K through kindergarten.
Uh-huh.
And I started noticing some of the turnaround when he went to a larger classroom. He only had 8 children max in his classroom for kindergarten and pre-K.
Yeah.
And so I think with the smaller classrooms, he was able to do more, and he learned more, because they had him writing book reports, this teacher did, in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And he was just excelling. He was reading and excelling. Even he was probably at the top of his class.
Yeah. So we recently found out that my 4-year-old grandson is also on the spectrum. And you're right, he's just, it's amazing what he knows. I feel like I have to study up on something. Well, right now he's into the solar system. So I feel like I have to study the solar system before I go visit so I can talk to him.
Talking his language. And that's what it is. I found out most of them are that I have come in contact with on the spectrum. They are brilliant. And what they get fixated on something, though, they go down that trail.
Yeah. What they focus on, yeah.
I used to tease people and tell them, don't ever show my son your driver's license because he will publicly tell your age.
Oh.
He
Oh,
could compute it in his head and he would
yeah.
tell your
Like,
age.
oh, you're. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So how is your son doing now?
He's actually 23 now,
Uh-huh.
and he's doing, I would say, fairly well.
Yeah.
He and I live together, and I basically made one of the main reasons, he was the main reason that I made the transition to come to Texas from Michigan.
Uh-huh.
And I think with learning him more and learning to communicate and how he communicates, our relationship has really enhanced. And
Uh-huh.
I enjoy parenting him and being there for him.
Yeah.
So
And what I learned with my grandson is that he has a process. And for him, if you want him to like move forward on something, then you say, okay, step 1, we're doing this, step 2, we're doing this, and step 3, we're doing this. And so he'll like, okay, step 1, check. And then he'll go to step 2, and then he'll say step 2, and then he'll repeat what step 2 was, and he'll say check. So he feels comfortable with knowing that process, if you will.
I think a lot of times they do, especially my son would. And when you give him something to do, sometimes we have to repeat it and follow through, redirect and follow through some of the things that he would do. And I do believe most of us, even adults, we sometimes have to redirect and figure
Yeah.
out, or I call it sometimes play, explore, and discover.
Yeah.
So, this didn't work going down this road. Let's try something different this time.
Uh-huh. So do you coach, or how do you assist mothers with autistic children?
I mostly assist mothers with autistic children now on a case by case basis whenever someone either confronts me or we just have that bond or that relationship.
Mhm.
And I just think they're special. Well, everybody's special, but they
Yeah.
have just a special place in my heart because often they're misunderstood
Mm.
and people label them. They're some of the brilliant and most brightest people in the world.
Yeah.
In fact, my son one day looked up a lot of the, I'll call it famous, I think this is the word he used, people who were on the spectrum, a
Mm.
lot of the strides that they had made, and business people and professionals. There are a number of them that are on the spectrum and are doing very well. And he would always tell me, basically, if they could do it, I can too.
Yeah.
So I always encourage him, hey, your own limitations are
Mhm.
what you place on yourself. Because don't let anyone else write your story and tell you what you cannot do, because you can do anything you want within your own limitations. And that's the story we've lived by.
That's
And
wonderful.
I think what we tell ourselves oftentimes is what we tend to believe.
Mhm. And it's amazing to me that there are so many more resources available for parents with autism, as far as there are different kinds of coaches available, and uh, different kind of therapies to help them understand and learn that communication process for their children. I think that's a wonderful thing, because their minds do work differently.
Exactly.
Mhm.
My son used to always say, I want to be normal.
Oh,
And he was told by one of the therapists that normal is just a setting on the dryer.
yeah. Yeah.
All of us are different. We have unique processes and we're all different. So your abilities just happen to be different than mine or the next person's. So, but we all are unique.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. So was it the school who said he might be on the spectrum for you first?
It was, he had a couple outbreaks at the school. And I kind of realized that some things were different because I have four other children older than him. And I just realized some things were different. And then with the turnaround and his, I had him tested actually when he was in first grade, I believe. And I was told that he had mild autism, not autism, excuse me, mild ADHD,
No,
and didn't
okay.
qualify for any services. So he went from being classified as mild ADHD to being classified with autism, well, a form of autism, as they call
Yeah.
it. And he was diagnosed by a therapist. And he
Okay.
was probably fifth, sixth grade by this time.
Oh, okay. So tell me, what suggestions would you give to parents who have children on the spectrum?
My biggest suggestion is to let them be themselves.
Hmm.
Let them be unique and enjoy the moment because they are a gift that God has given us. And enjoy that gift. Enjoy the unique things. If they want to play, let's play. If they want to run, let's run. So, whatever those children want to do within certain ramifications,
Hmm.
let's enjoy that moment because they don't stay little forever, and just enjoy the process instead of getting frustrated and stressed out, and take care of yourself. That's one of the
Yeah.
main things. Self-care is so important because sometimes mothers, period, or parents, sometimes we so busy focusing on the children, we forget to take care of ourselves. And we're no good to anyone, including ourselves, if we don't take care of ourselves. And it's not selfish
Mm-mm.
to do self-care. So that is one of the biggest things because we can't help our children if we're down and sick and out.
Yeah.
So take care of yourself, number one. Don't feel guilty. And then you'll be able to, what they call it, slow down so you can do more. So we'll be able to slow down and actually do uh, do more as far as parenting is concerned. And I think have a happier relationship with our children
Yeah.
because when you rested, when I'm not rested, I'm easily flustered and a little short sometimes. So when I get my rest and self-care, I mean, sometimes I used to tell my children that Mondays was my do me day. I would always do something special. It was no more than clean my bathroom. I always did something for me. Take 5, 10 minutes out and read a book or just have a good bubble bath or something because you matter too.
Mhm.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I think you'll be happier. Focus on 4 things I would suggest that we focus on. My beautician told me years ago, pick your battles. Everything's not worth fussing and fighting and arguing about. So pick our battles. Don't let everything frustrate you. Sometimes I've taught my son a couple strategies for relaxation, deep breathing, what's called the 4x4 method. And I saw him going into a moment the other day. And so we talked about it, and he was in the car doing it. He was having a meltdown a little bit. Things didn't go quite the way we were told that they were supposed to go. He was on his way to work, and we went to one gate, and he kept going around in circles. And so he was getting a little upset because he couldn't get in where he was told he was supposed to go and get in at. And so I told him, hey, just relax. Take you some deep breaths, 4 breaths in, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe it out 4 seconds, and rest 4 seconds. And keep repeating that. And I could see him physically calming down. And just something just that simple that actually a therapist friend of mine taught me that. And I've been able to use it and pass it on. And sometimes just those little simple moments, even as parents of children on the spectrum, if we take that time out and just breathe, things will look different once we go back to them. So it's the simple things in life that we can do that will make a world of difference.
Yeah, it is the simple things.
3 things I suggest: don't let everything frustrate you. Get some good sleep. And when things are bothering you, learn to relax and do self-care.
Those are 3 great things we can do. Very good.
And it doesn't take a lot of time for most of it, other than the sleep. And there's strategies to help the children sleep as well. It may be a white light, or it could be helping them unwind, getting off electronics, earlier in about an hour or 2. Maybe taking a nice warm lavender bath if they can handle the lavender. Just little simple things that we can do that make our lives much easier.
That's
well, actually, the whole family will thank you later.
That's true. So you say you have a little gift for our listeners?
I definitely do. It is an ebook on Train the Brain, and it is a marvelous ebook. And I just help parents or mothers be able to help their children by just training the brain to refocus and have a better day.
Good. So this is for the child, something that we can use for the child.
Actually, the child and the parent or any of us, anyone can use it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go get my copy. All right, so the link will be below, Giant Builders, so make sure you get your copy. Well, any closing thoughts?
I would say it's a family affair. And don't neglect the other children in the family. Sometimes the siblings can feel like they are being ostracized because so much focus is being placed on the child on the spectrum. So just make it a family affair. Don't sweat the small stuff. And just be happy. As the songwriter said, don't worry, be happy.
That's
And just take care of your gifts as best as you know how.
Well, thank you, Darlene. You just seem like such a very fulfilled and very loving person. I'm just really grateful that you came on the show. I really just love your your posture and just your outlook on life. Because like when we first found out that confirmed that our grandson has autism, my husband and I kind of suspected it when he was a little bit younger. But when they finally got him tested, it was kind of like, well, for us, it was like, oh, good, now we have something to work towards or work on.
Right.
For his mom, it was like, oh my gosh, this is just, she was really in great distraught, but they're doing so well working with him. And like I said, it's just, it is amazing how brilliant they are. I mean, he likes to watch the timer on the phone. And so I gave him my phone so he could watch the timer. And the next thing I know, he's only 4, but he said, how do you spell coloring? And I spelled it for him. And I noticed him putting it on my phone. And I just thought, oh, well. And he actually downloaded 2 coloring apps onto my phone. And I could hear him reading the instructions. And it's like, how does a 4-year-old do that?
I think they come here with that knowledge, and they pick up things so easily. And I would say just don't limit them. I had my son at college, and he had some of his classes had dropped. So we had to go to a special office. I let him do the talking. And the administrator told me, thank you. She said, so many parents come in there and want to talk for their children. She said, thank you for allowing your son to at least try to do it for himself. Yeah. I'm there for a support system. And I believe in allowing him to do some things, because if I'm there picking up the, whatever you want to call it, picking up the pieces every time, he's never going to be able to stand on his own 2 feet, and I only enable him. So just allow them to be themselves. We'll be surprised at how much they can do.
Yeah.
For themselves.
That's true. So, well, thank you for your encouragement and just your enlightenment, especially, as a GG with a child in the spectrum. I just find that your encouragement to be uplifting. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me, Lois. I appreciate that.
All right, Giant Builders. We'll see you next week.
Have a great day.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.